I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Black Wealth Renaissance Podcast. Your boy David Bellard, 1/4 of the Black Wealth Renaissance, checking in with my co-hosts. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Jalen, man. Another quarter of the Black Wealth Renaissance. Feeling great, man. It's Saturday. This is the second one. We going hard, going strong, man. Feeling great. What's up, my brother Jared? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I can't complain, man. Just ready to get into this episode. I'm real excited to see exactly what our guest is talking about today, man. He did a lot of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Definitely gonna be another interesting episode. But before we hop into it, y'all, as always, y'all make sure that y'all leaving comments, y'all rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. If this is your first time listening, let us know how you feel. Let us know how to give us some feedback on the episode. We love to hear back from y'all and try to provide y'all with the best information in the best way possible. So yeah, y'all tap in, let us know how y'all feeling. With that out the way, let's get into our guests, y'all. So y'all, I can't say enough about this young brother, man. Born and raised in Canada. He is a former professional athlete turned GM for a professional basketball team in Canada, as well as the GM for a professional baseball team. He's the owner of several nonprofits, and he also has a luxury events and lifestyle brand. My good brother, Antwi damn it, I was doing so good. Antwi Atuahene.
Perfect. That's a big time. Thank you, man.
My bad, bro. How you
did a good job. You did a good job. That you came through. I appreciate y'all for having me, man. Y'all doing a great thing.
Hey, man, we appreciate you for coming on, bro. And definitely appreciate you for reaching out. And whenever we saw your track record, man, it was like, yeah, we got to get this brother on. We got to talk about some of the things that he's doing, because you definitely playing some pivotal roles and really just making a difference in your community. And it's definitely a pleasure to be able to have this chance to speak to you.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we just going to jump right on into it, man. For the people who not really familiar with you, can you explain who you are and kind of how you got your start?
Oh, well, okay, perfect. Well, my name is Antwi Atuahene. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, but my parents are from Ghana. But I was born in Toronto, raised in Toronto's a city where it has a bunch of different cultures. So I was very cultured growing up. We were around a bunch of different type of people. I started playing basketball at a young age, baseball as well, and soccer. But I kind of ran off with basketball because it's a sport I can kind of dominate more versus a sport like soccer or baseball. From there, in high school, I had a great high school basketball career. I was named the #1 player in Canada. I got a basketball scholarship to Rutgers University. Things didn't work out there with the transcript. I decommitted from there, went to a junior college in Texas, Trinity Valley TVCC for a year. I became a junior college player of the year. That's when I transferred to Arizona State. 3 years there, got a degree in mass communications and business. Had a great college career, met a bunch of great people. And after college, I played about 8 years pro. And in my pro experiences, I played a lot in South America, a lot in Asia. I finished off in Canada and with the London Lightning with a championship. And even when I was playing pro basketball, I was always looking on ways to be an entrepreneur or giving back to my community and kind of changing the narrative, because people I grew up around in those times are going in different directions, and I want to kind of help the next generation from going there. Other than that, from the basketball and sports side of it, on the entrepreneur side of it, I was really a go-getter and a doer. So I wanted to start things that I can plant and grow myself and watch them grow organically as I put in work to it.
Being that you were always looking at entrepreneurship, like, when was your first crack at it? Was it like while you were still playing, or like you kind of like waited till after you got past that?
Was it even in you as a child?
Yeah, well, this is what it was. As a child, when we used to have like basketball tournaments, you have to raise money. I would always raise the most money because I was never afraid to go talk to somebody and ask them, hey, you want to buy a box of chocolates? And then, I mean, you're not supposed to do it, but they told me to sell the chocolate for $2. But I'd always make deals like, listen, I'll give you 3 boxes of chocolate for $10. They'd be like, all right, cool, because I know people wanted stuff in quantity. So I'm already picking up these transferable traits from like building a network at a young age without knowing I'm building a network. So it started from young. That hustle was always in me, you know. And I took that ability to communicate and expanded on it from a young age all the way till now.
Hey, that's powerful, especially the fact that you were able to realize and capitalize on it. Like, yo, I can raise this money. I'm gonna show y'all I can do it consistently, but you weren't afraid to make those type of deals too. Because a lot of times when they were kids, oh, I got this chocolate, it's just $2, you know,
Right.
buy one from me. But you're like, no, look, I'm gonna make it a sweet deal for you. You give me $10, you get this whole box, and we're gonna keep on pushing.
Right, 100. And a big thing about that is I figured out who to talk to. So I would approach a family, maybe of 3 or 4, and I'm not gonna ask the dad if he wants a chocolate. I'm gonna ask the kid. I'm gonna ask the kid. I think, hey, you want some of these chocolates? I got the kid pulled in. Now the dad can't tell him no. So I already knew, like, okay, cool, networking, building promo towards this demographic. And now when I got them sucked in, I can bring him in. Now he has to buy. So I already had that in my mind.
Whenever you were growing up, did you have any other? Was your parents or your dad and mom, did they kind of set those examples, or were there any type of entrepreneur examples set in front of you for you to pick up that type of acumen?
Well, it wasn't entrepreneurship growing up in an African household, but it was heavily engraved on education. They're big on education. But my mother woke up every single day at 5 a.m. She worked at like a drug plant, like they're making like a pharmacist kind of. And my father was very intellectual, intelligent. He was a teacher. So, and I had the best of both worlds with those two. And they stayed on top of me with different things. And they also gave me autonomy to like go and do my own thing. I'm the middle child. So I had an older brother, a younger sister. So I'm the kid that kind of go do his thing and make him go figure it out.
That's crazy. I always see that like with that middle child, y'all just go do whatever y'all want to do. Get in,
Gotta get it, man.
Gotta go get it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Antwi, I do kind of want to ask now, man. So like, what was that transition like for like you leaving your playing career? Because you know a lot of people they struggle with that transition, like they going from making money as an athlete to having to figure out how they're gonna move not playing sports. Because like you said, you played basketball your whole life. Like that's a transition, because that becomes a very large part of your life. You spend time practicing, you spend time doing all these things. So like, how was that transition?
One word: humbling. Humbling. That transition was humbling, because you go into a space where you're so used to knowing that if I put this amount of work in on the basketball court in my training every single day, I'm going to get this result. While I'm going to becoming an entrepreneur is, people think it's all glamorous and glitz when it's not. The hardest thing is to be an entrepreneur. I had to kind of like kill my ego and go into places not looking for a dollar, but looking for experience. And that's what set me on that right track. Looking for wisdom through mentorship, but not asking for a dollar, just being able to soak up some intellectual property and knowledge and be a fly on the wall. And then later on, tell them how I can add value to them without them giving me a dollar. And that was the biggest thing for me. It was difficult, man. It was scary. It was a scary thing. And you kind of have to reinvent yourself. You have to go from athlete into somebody that you never were, because you can't take an athlete into a meeting. You can't say, I'm this basketball player in a meeting. They don't care about that. Who are you to your core? So you have to like find yourself, rebuild yourself, and reinvent yourself, which is it's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like the caterpillar effect going into the butterfly. And if you're afraid of like that caterpillar effect, you're never going to become a beautiful butterfly. So I enjoyed it.
Hey, that's powerful. And I kind of want to ask you though, the fact that you were an athlete and so used to competition, how did that give you an edge being an entrepreneur?
I think that's everything. So as an athlete, you have to find ways to tap into your competitive nature and use your transferable traits from your athletic life to your entrepreneur life. You can't disconnect from that. That's the biggest skill trait you have over everyone else, if you're a dominant athlete or an elite athlete. So my transferable traits as an athlete, as a competitor, was my leadership, was my communication, was my initiative. Like as a basketball player, I can see the plays happen before and read it. So as an entrepreneur, I can see the demographic shifting before and read it ahead of time. I know who to speak to. I'm gonna treat the secretary like the janitor, like the CEO. Just like I'm gonna treat the big man like the point guard, like the shooting guard, like our manager on the team, because all of them play a role in me being successful. So those are like the main things that I kind of looked at and grasped easily.
Hey, that's powerful, because you're able, like you said, to adjust before you have to react. So now you're from a position of proactivity. So now you're able to adjust and kind of like anticipate what's going to happen now.
There you go.
So now you can say, okay, maybe I don't have it all figured out, but I can think about if it goes left or if it goes right. This is how we'll react to it, instead of getting bust in the mouth. And now what do I do?
100%. That's the best way I can ever hear it put, just like that. But is that going on in my mind at all times? But not making it seem like I'm in a situation where I'm nervous, but it's like organized chaos, if you understand. Like and I've always felt like it was never survival of the fittest. It was survival of the most adaptable. So I always wanted to be like water. Like I want to adapt to anything coming my way. As a basketball player as well, teams are going to throw different defenses at you when you score 40. They're going to put a box and one on you now. How are you going to adapt? They're going to put a bigger guy on you to shorten the court. They're going to put a bigger DB on you or a smaller DB on you because you're faster, whatever the case may be. In every sport, same thing. How are you going to adapt? What are you going to do? How are you going to adjust?
And I like that. And I kind of want to go into what was one of your first ventures that you had to adapt to. So can you kind of go back and replay that for the listeners? What was one of those first things? And I noticed that you said you didn't work for money. So how did you attack that?
Perfect. So my first venture was Youth R Us. And it's a group that I started with a business partner, Clive Williams. And we went in there to go in the inner city in Toronto to kind of help these kids who are like in an at-risk community with a lot of gang violence activity, not that many resources, but give them not just a basketball program, but a mentorship program with resources for them to like get from basketball to like the real world in a good way. And I went in there and there's things that you have, like you can write grants, you can find sponsors, etc. We wrote every grant you can write. We reach out to every sponsor you can get, and we literally got $0 back. Damn. Literally. Damn. So, but you can look at it two ways. Either you under deliver and these kids get hurt by it, or you can under promise and over deliver and these kids benefit from it. So I went in there like, you know what, this we got to do. We got to adjust now. We're not going to get no sponsorships from anybody. We're not going to get no money. What relationships do we have? Who do I know? Boom. I know a guy at Adidas. Call my guy at Adidas. Hey, we need some uniforms for our team. Well, we can do this and do that. Boom. I know another guy who works at this food spot. He can give us some meals. Boom. I know another guy who does notebooks. We can do this. So the relationship equity I built along the years came to play. And now I got all these things in kind for no dollar figure, but it was helping the kids and help build our program. So now when I go back to these same companies or these grants in the government to show them what the product is that we didn't use $1 from, now they're going to be obliged to invest in it because the product is already shown to be successful without any help. So imagine what happens when you give us some help.
And I love that you took that energy and you didn't let that discourage you. And you said, I got these kids, they're dependent on me. So I need to do something for them and I can't quit. I like how you were able to lean on your social resources is what it is, your social resources. And you were okay, hey man, like, can you help me out here? Let me show you why this is important too. This is not just for me. This is making a difference in these young kids' lives. And then you gave that social proof. So the next time you came around for those grants, it was no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's like, yeah, this guy is really doing this. He didn't even need money. So like, let's really just pour into him.
100%. And that was the mission.
And
so when you got started with this, like, did you structure it out as like a 501(c) nonprofit, or like was it just like you guys were just like, hey, let's do this right now?
We structured it as a 501(c) nonprofit. Because I wanted to do things the right way. We went through the government, and Canada's a little bit different in the structuring things, but we registered it and got everything going that way.
And I kind of wanted to ask you like about the difference. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I wanted to ask you if you were used to doing business in the U.S. versus Canada, and could you kind of give us a few of those nuances around how it's a little different?
Okay, that's a great question. In Canada, the government and resource-wise, I think we have a lot more opportunities and a lot more help from the government. Like there's so many grants, there's so many different things you can do that the government assists you with in that asset. That's big. I think in the U.S., the community help is much bigger. Like meaning, like if someone sees you selling T-shirts, he's not going to ask you for a discount right away. He's going to give you your full price. Now, the community-wise, your peers, people around you support you more, or they tend to support you more in the U.S. versus in Canada. But the government here is more powerful in terms of supporting the programs, and I feel like the government in the U.S. isn't as powerful. It's more of the community and the people around you. That's like the biggest dichotomy I see.
That's interesting. That's interesting when navigating. And I know we do have some followers that are located in Canada. So if you're thinking about starting something, like you are in a very advantageous position. So definitely look into some of those grants and some of that money that you can get
So yeah, I kind of want to go now into like the GM positions because I'm wondering like, so you were doing the nonprofit. That was your first venture after you got started. So like, when was the next thing? Like, when did you start the GM jobs?
Well, it kind of went fast because when I was doing the nonprofit and Youth R Us, and then I started my for-profit company, Noir Et Noire, I wasn't just doing like smaller things. I was doing big events in Toronto, like big basketball tournaments and big charity events, etc. And then I was doing big charity events in Houston, Texas. I was doing Afro culture in New York City. So I was building all of these relationships, and I was building a lot of cultural capital. And I'm like, I need to find a way that I can harness most of my high level attributes and put them into one profession. So I'm not bouncing around a lot. And that's when I kind of like, through COVID, like I'm like, let me attack being a couple things that can benefit me in a whole perspective. So I'm like, general manager is something I can do because I'm great at managing a large group of people. I'm great at making sure everyone eats. I'm great at listening to everyone's spiel and then figuring out a way to connect Jamal with Lester easily versus them not being able to connect because they don't see eye to eye. Like, I'm just great at doing those type of things. I'm great at comprehensive communication, not just communication. So that's how I kind of got into it, because baseball was always a thing that I loved. And Coach Sean Travers, who coached me in high school, was already running the baseball team. And so we that made a marriage there. We had prior relationship. And on the basketball side with the Niagara River Lions, we built a rapport prior to us even making it happen. And then when COVID happened, it was like, yo, this is the next step, because I got to be in Toronto for the next 9 to 10 months. So I think this makes a lot more sense to like adapt and adjust and go to this lane now. And here I am.
I like what you were saying about how you're able to connect these people, because something I've realized that a lot of successful people are able to do, they're able to connect the people to the right people and get them to perform at a better and higher level. But you're also able to facilitate multiple different things. So I just kind of want to talk, what would you say is kind of like maybe a top 3, top 5 things that if you want to be a facilitator that you should know, or that you should be looking out for, are like, I'm trying to see how to ask it. How are you able to connect these people the way you're doing? Because I'm just thinking of people like LeBron James and the Bill Belichick's, people who are able to really just connect those people and put the different pieces together to make those things happen. Even Tom Brady, another one of those people who's able to get things around him and make things work. So like, if you're trying to get to that level, what are some of the things that you think that's required for that?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first attribute that's the most important, that's required, is having a great ear, being a fantastic listener. That's the first. If you don't listen to what people are saying, you're just ready to get the next word out, you're never going to be a great facilitator. The second thing is having extreme patience, because sometimes people will do things from their own POV that they think is right, or that they think they're being done wrong, and you may not feel that way, but you have to be patient enough to hear them all the way out, and then patient enough to come to them with a solution that's going to help everyone, if that makes sense. And then the last thing I would say is you kind of have to kill your ego. You kind of have to, I remember Rumi said, you have to give up the drop to become the ocean. So you have to be very, very giving. You have to give pieces of yourself to others, because you may be like, you know what? I don't need none of this. I'm already good. But if I don't do this, the team's not good. So you got to give up yourself to become a whole.
And that's really, really powerful and impactful. And I think those 3 things are very, very important, because one, listening. A lot of people, we think we're great listeners, but like you said, a lot of times we're listening just to respond and to react. We're not listening to understand. So I think that's very, very powerful. Like just coming into situations and really figuring out what someone is saying. And being in a position, I used to be in sales, I think that's very powerful, because a lot of people, whenever you're selling something, you're not listening to what that person's need is. You're just trying to figure out how you can get them to buy this. But if you're coming from, it sounds like you're coming from a place of value giving and really just trying to understand and just really trying to give them the most beneficial answer, the most beneficial direction.
1,000%. That's it to a T.
Antwi, I kind of want to go into the general manager position more. Like, I know you said you do a lot of connecting people, but like, could you explain a little bit more about exactly what a general manager is and what they do?
So with the basketball team, I'm the assistant general manager and the head of basketball operations. Mm-hmm. So all the basketball operations pertaining to the entire team, like our practice schedule, when guys are traveling, flights, meetings, if we're looking at new venues, etc. How can we increase ticket sales? I wear many, many hats. No pun intended. And then on the baseball side of things, and also on the general manager side of things, on the basketball side, I have a program called the Lab, which means Life After Basketball, that I created for my players to give them that great opportunity to learn to transition into being entrepreneurs, or not just entrepreneurs, whatever you want to do in life after basketball. So we can start thinking about it now. You may want to be a recording artist. You may want to be a carpenter. We don't know what you want to be, but let's tap into that now. So when it's time to put the basketball down, you're not as scared. You have like a head start. So the Lab, Life After Basketball, was created last year to kind of give these guys a trampoline that they can jump off of. So that's kind of like encompasses everything else that I do as a GM. And also the biggest thing is always trying to find ways to add value to everyone around me. That's the biggest thing a GM got to do, because people look for you for leadership. People look to you for like that final word, and your final word can't be biased. Some things that I say that I want to say, I won't say because it may seem biased. You have to make the decision that's not always your decision, but a decision for the whole team or for the whole organization. Because the way you think now may be too fast for everyone else. Sometimes you got to slow your process down and get everyone to that lane, and then we can move together as a unit, because you don't want to get people left behind. It's kind of like a fast relay team when the first three guys are really, really fast, but the anchor is slow. You're not going to have a good relay team, because you're going to get a lead, and then at the end, you're going to lose the race. So I'd rather have a team with balanced speed, and that's why I try to create this balance. That's the basis of everything. And then on the baseball side, it's the HPP program, High Performance. Baseball is a little different sport where the players aren't as, I would say, needy. The players are kind of more laid back and reclusive, where they work out, they know their schedule, they know their regimen. I just got to make sure they're doing the right things on and off the field. Baseball, like they go on the field and they go back into the dugout. So just the culture of baseball is different than basketball. So everything's a lot more laid back. So that one's a lot more, I won't say easier, but it's easier to connect with guys because you can sit down and talk with them for longer periods of time.
I love that the Lab program, bro. I really do, because I think that's so important. Like we touched on your journey, like transitioning from it, but like even just from a money management standpoint or anything where it comes to like giving these players and people assistance, because in our community, a lot of times we don't learn about this type of stuff. Like we've been given this belief system that it's like, oh, sports is the way to make it. And like, once I make it to sports or once I make it to that highest level playing professionally, I'm good forever. But that's not realistically the case. Like there's a lot of education that has to come behind and like really prepare you for that life after, because whenever you playing and you may have this $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 checks coming in, you can't be spending like that forever. Like you gotta make sure you preparing for, like you said, that life after.
100%. And that's the biggest thing, because they don't teach you that in school. They don't teach you financial literacy. They teach you algebra. They teach you parabolas. They don't teach you these things that you're going to really, really need to become successful. Not just to become successful, is when you become wealthy or you run into some money, how are you going to manage that money? If all I know is algebra or parabolas or what the prerequisite is, how are you going to manage your money? How are you going to manage your life?
I don't even remember half that shit, to be honest.
How are you supposed to remember that? You're not going to know bed mass. Like, that doesn't mean nothing. That's just ways to like make sure your brain's functioning. That's the functionality of your brain. That's like the cerebral cortex of your brain. That has nothing to do with decision making when you have a multi-million-dollar company or you're a multi-million-dollar brand, and everyone around you says they have an opportunity to like start a company here or start something, and you're giving everyone money. You have to learn to balance your money.
And how are you, what's some ways you're doing that with Lab? You're getting these guys to understand, managing your money is very important.
Well, that's a great question. The main focus of the Lab, like the skeleton, or I would say the backbone of the land, is financial literacy and financial independence. So I've partnered with a local bank here, and we do the first thing, like to walk in the door of the Lab. The prerequisite to move forward is you got to go through this financial literacy course with us. You got to, and they teach all the players about credit. They teach them about mortgages. They're teaching them about how you can make your money work for yourself, investing, what's the right way to invest, different ways that they can find financial freedom with investing and things like that, in stocks. And we go through we break it down for like, I think maybe 2-3 weeks when we start, and then we move from there.
Hey, that's beautiful. And I kind of have another question, man. You doing all of these things, you're such a go-giver. How do you stay charged to where you can keep on pouring into other people? I think that's something that's highly overlooked and highly effective people, and people who are kind of leading people. They don't realize that the leader has times where they don't want to lead, or you might need somebody to lean on also. How do you stay as, I guess, like as tip top in shape for everyone else who needs you?
That's a great question. 3 things I do a lot. I meditate a lot. That's one. I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. Reading's like my best thing I love to do. I read 60 books a year. And the third thing I do is I pay attention to my energy. I try to keep people around me that have great energy. When I feel someone's like an energy vampire, I'll pull away from them. Like, I don't just be around people to be around people, because I think you can get drained that way. I like people that charge my battery too.
I like that. That's important, because that last one, there's definitely people that sometimes you don't realize, but every time they come around, something fucked up happens, or
always
it's something.
They ruin your energy, man.
Right away.
Or like you excited and they don't even seem excited, and then they just kind of bring you down, and you now you overlooking your accomplishment and shit.
I'm telling you, here's the biggest thing I want people to realize: always pay attention to the people that say "must be nice." You tell them I just did this, must be nice. Pay attention to that person. Know where their mind is at right there. They may laugh it off, but there's a truth in every joke. The must be nice people be the ones in the background taking your energy. They're not really happy for you. Because if you come to me and you tell me your accomplishment, I'm cheering harder for you than myself. I'm so happy that you did that. I'm going crazy. Hit me with the must be nice. Okay, I know where your energy at.
Y'all,
and I don't want to pass over the second thing.
That read. I did want to talk about that.
That's such a major one too. Like, readers are truly leaders, bro. Like, I genuinely believe that. Like, I saw a tweet I put out a long time ago. It was basically like something that my teacher told me in high school. She was like, when you read, you're dangerous. And it's so true, because like they always say, it's an old saying, if you want to hide information from a black person, you put it in a book.
There we go.
Like, if you take the time out your day to really just absorb information that can better you, or like just help you in some way, shape, or form, you gonna see so many more benefits from it. It is crazy to me that people think like that reading is such a hassle, especially now whenever there's so many different mediums you can absorb this content through. You can watch videos,
you can do audio
books.
It's all kind of stuff, man. Like, you can just really absorb this in there's the fucking books on your phone, or you can just everything. And I kind of want to ask you, what would be your top 5 books? Is there like a certain book, any type of books that like, I got to read this every year or every other year? What's your top 5 list of books? Top 5
list of books. First off, I think my favorite author is Robin Sharma. He's phenomenal. So my top 5 books, number one, I got the autobiography of Malcolm X, Alex Haley.
Hey, I love that book, bro.
You just read that? You gotta read it every year.
Bro, that book will change your perspective on some shit.
If you are a black person, I say you required to read that book.
Required.
I'm about to call you out on the pod, bro.
I already know what you're gonna do. Yes. Come on, chastise me. Come on, do it. Shit.
I read that book. Man, it was like, man, David, you on some radical stuff, man. You tripping, bro. What's wrong with you? Then he go read the book. He coming to me talking the same way. I'm like, I told you, man.
No, don't worry, man. Like, everyone has their time, and it's not your fault. It's the narrative. The narrative pushed out there that it is some radical stuff. So when you see images of Malcolm X, they show a lot the image with the rifle out the window. They don't show them the images of him in Mecca. They don't show the images of him praying a lot. They don't show that side of it. They want to show the images of him when he was young and doing things that people thought was inciting violence. That's how they do you.
Yo, like he said, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I fucked up. I was judging him, but it's a great book. Like,
oh man,
you're a black person, I say that's a required reading. But even if you just a human being, you can gain so much from that book just because the dynamics of it, and you really just get to understand on a deeper level. I really just felt like I got to connect with human life in a different way because the way he explained some things, like you said,
man.
on his trip to Mecca, like he understood, like, and he realized that, you know, I was going about attacking the information the incorrect way. And I also think one of the most powerful things from that book was he was saying us as Black people, especially in America, we're looking at this at too much of a one-dimensional country. This is a country issue. It's not. This is a human rights issue.
Yes.
And once we start to look at this as a global international issue, that's where we'll be able to start making some differences. We're able to start making some changes because you're violating human rights now. This is bigger than just, change a bill here or something like that. No, there needs to be some actions and implications that go behind this. And you can't treat humans that way.
1,000%. And that book is everything for me. I read it once a year. So that's like my
sorry, man. We went on a tangent, bro.
I gotta hit
I still want to hit the rest of the list.
Okay. All right. I got Autobiography of Malcolm X, Alex Haley, number 1. Number 2, I got The Alchemist. The Alchemist. That book was life-changing. Paulo Coelho, another phenomenal author. At number 2. Number 3, I got How to Lead Without a Title, Robin Sharma. That is a phenomenal read right there. Number 4, I would possibly say I think it's The Monk That Sold His Ferrari.
I heard
Robin
about
Sharma
that
again. Robin Sharma again. Those two back to back, they're very similar in kind of those 3, The Alchemist, Lead Without a Title, and The Monk That Sold His Ferrari are very, very similar in terms of how they're written, in terms of the message behind them. Mm-hmm. And then I would say number 5, the Bobby Brown, Every Little Step, the autobiography of Bobby Brown, Every Little Step.
We'll have to check that one out.
Check that one out. I was a big Bobby Brown fan growing up. And I read a plethora of books, so it's not like I'm just saying it, but Bobby Brown's story is something special. So Bobby Brown still be breathing right now. And I'm a little bit older. So going back in the day, Bobby Brown was Chris Brown before Chris Brown. So for Bobby Brown to still be standing right now, what he's gone through is amazing. The testament to that guy's life is just different level. You get to connect with human life when you read his book. Like the vulnerability in that book is just pure. So I get to connect with that. And that's pretty much, that's my top 5 right now.
Hey, I'm gonna definitely check those out. I heard The Alchemist was pretty good too.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's like one of those underlying arenas that you kind of like have to start with. Like kind of the autobiography of Malcolm X. Like it's like a requirement. Like to get on this type of wave or frequency, you got to see someone that had this amount of a level of discipline and an ability to make things change with his words and standing behind his words, regardless of the circumstances. Knowing I'm gonna give my life to this, like it's a different level.
Hey man, I love that, man. Hey, y'all definitely check out some of those books. And I'm kind of like, man, that damn, just thinking about that Malcolm X book, man.
Oh, man. You leave it alone, man.
Man.
His head been bust ever since you read the book, bro. I'm telling you, you just been in a different mental space. I
really have.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. I know that feeling. After you read that book, you're like, man, what am I doing with my life?
No, like for real. Like that's really how I felt. I was like, no fucking like excuse for me not to go do some good shit. Like
Not to mention, people don't know this. I mean, some people do know this. For the majority of the time when Malcolm X came out of prison and when he was a Muslim, he was fasting those days. Like he's eating one meal almost all the time, or fasting to a certain amount, or fasting for months on end. Like he wasn't eating meals purposely for like religious beliefs or to be like on that frequency. Like that's how crazy, that's the level he was on.
Dedication you ain't never seen in your life.
Hey,
never.
You had to get deep with it.
So
Yeah,
I kind of want to hop into Noir Et Noire, man. We talking about Malcolm X books, but I'm really interested. We kind of passed over it in your journey because I had things kind of misplaced with it. But the Noir Et Noire part that came in between these two things that we talked about with You Thought Us and with the GM positions. So can we talk more about Noir Et Noire? Like, what is your brand? Like, what was like the business model behind it and all these different things?
Okay, that's perfect. Well, Noir Et Noire basically has a couple of different meanings. To me, like it's in French, it means black man, black woman, like the male version and black feminine. But for me, it really means black excellence. It started off as Ball Noir because that's what it means, blackballed, to be blackballed. And that's why I started the brand off as. But it kind of like how Rockefeller moved to Rock Nation. years as I started evolving and started moving towards not just basketball events, but luxury events and more merchandise with coding in it and a storyline in it as well and a message. I wanted to do something more neutral where even if you didn't play basketball, you didn't have to associate yourself with it. So that's what I see was kind of planted in. And so we moved to Noir Et Noire. And the part of Noir Et Noire that's so important to me that everything I do, I try to tell a story with it, especially with my merchandise. I have my Kings my Kings crew necks and shirts, the Queen stuff. I got my new stuff that comes out with like the Nipsey Hussle stuff on it and the Kwame Nkrumah stuff on it, etc. That is the Kings other shirt with like Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, all those guys on it. Just want to tell a story of our history and make people look at things and they can identify with power in it.
Hey,
I like that you make sure that you have meaning behind all of the shirts too. Like it's nothing that's just, pointless. Everything has like specific stories with it too.
100%. I appreciate that. That's kind of like the goal with everything. Cause I want to leave a timeline. I want when you go back, like, how there's some albums or some music that when you hear like, oh, I remember when I was here when I heard that song or when I heard that Blueprint album, I remember where I was at. I want to have a timeline. Like I remember when I went to this concert and I got that merch. Well, I remember when I bought this shirt and I wore it there because the message behind it was this, and someone walked up to me and asked me this. So it's like starting conversations within the storyline.
And that's really, really powerful and really impactful. And it just ingrains that brand feel to you, because I'm pretty sure there's times where people remember their first pair of J's or remember some shoes that they wore somewhere and they had that same type of feeling of just nostalgia. So it's really like you're ingraining that within your brand.
Yes, that's what it is.
And I kind of want to talk about what does it look like to throw luxury events? Like, what exactly is that?
So for me, I partnered with Remy Martin for almost about 2-3 years in Houston, Texas, New York, and Toronto. And luxury events would stem from, we want like an invite only, maybe black tie, maybe just a dinner of not just influencers, but people that want to become upper echelon, or we have a group of people that is maybe a friend's birthday, but you want to have exclusivity. So we'll have it we'll curate this whole experience for them. So when they leave, they're like, you know what, that was a different experience. That was a whole different vibe I've never been to. So that's where like the basis of the luxury events came from. And I started curating by fluke. I put together a basketball event in Houston, Texas called JH Town Weekend. And from there, I had all these other side events that I wanted to curate for the weekend. And I met up with Remy Martin. They're like, you know what? We'd love for you to like just start curating these events for us throughout the whole year. And it went from one thing, and I had pretty much a 3-year run with them doing these events.
That's what's up. So can you talk more about like that partnership deal with Remy Martin? Like how did that like really like come about, and like how did that like those type of deals work? Like how do you get a sponsorship for your events?
Well, the way it works is your event has to be able to tap into a value that the market needs or that brand needs. And what they needed was they needed our demographic, but in an exclusive setting. They needed our demographic, not in a setting where it just looks like we're in the club, in a setting where it looks like it's too loud for people to hear a conversation. They needed our demographic or our aesthetics to look like we're actually doing things with our time. That people are in here and they're in here trying to build a network and build cultural currency with each other or cultural capital with each other. And that was the biggest thing. I was able to show that I can do that. Like I was the man with the plan. Like, listen, I'm not going to come to you guys to ask you questions. I'm going to come to you guys to give you the plan, how it's going to look. And you guys provide the product and you guys provide the monetary side of it. So it was not like a partnership deal where I went to them and like, hey, how can we do this? No, I had a plan. I said, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to have this person hired for that. I'm gonna have this DJ here. I'm gonna have the aesthetic, the look and feel, black, gold, and blue. I'm gonna make sure that person will be here. He's gonna be my host, etc. And here's what it looks like. Now they got the vision. Now they got the vision. Their job's already done. Now I'll do the easy thing, give you the product, and give you guys some money to take care of it.
I love it. He coming with the value with that plan that's already set and laid out. This kind of speaks to something we talk about. Like when you have that vision already, you can fill the gaps. The money don't always have to be there. Like you can fill the gaps as long as you got the vision and it's laid out clear.
I see that a lot in our community. People will come to you and be like, I got this idea, or, hey, I would like to work with you. What you need? Or like, how can I help? But that's not going to get anything done. And then once they get turned around, or it doesn't go through, they get really discouraged. And it's like, see, this is why you can't do this. They're not looking out for me, whenever they're not realizing this is a risk. If you came to Remy Martin without your plan laid out, this is a risk. Why would I give you this money?
Right.
What should I do that for? Same thing whenever you're trying to collaborate with people. Why? You have to really show them, okay, this is a minimal amount of risk. Some things could go wrong, but I have all of these contingencies in place already. I have all of these things taken care of, and now I'm giving you that value. Now I'm solving something for you. I'm giving you more than what you came in here anticipating for. Kind of like what you were saying earlier, under promise, over deliver.
Right. 100%. That you hit a nail on the head right there. I feel like the way people should come in is with their plan set out. You can't just come and ask people to help or what you need help for if you can't add value. So be attentive, be patient, like be a person that's going to be able to have a strategy set out. So when I come to ask you what I need from you, or what I want to help you with, is a plan there already, and then I have the plan and I have the vision that just in case you may not want that, I have the counter already set up, ready to go. Oh, you didn't want it in that venue? Well, I contacted this venue too. I was there. This the quote for them. Like, you have to be able to have that ready on deck. If you got to be thorough. I'll say that. You got to be thorough. You got to be thorough. You got to be ready to go at all cylinders.
And one thing I definitely wanted to pull out a key thing from there too that you said that I really liked was the fact that you had almost a niched event, with you doing it as luxury and making sure that it was going to be something that was upscale, and you then targeting like a liquor brand like Remy Martin. You came and you already had that niche feel to it, to where it was like, oh, okay, y'all do upscale, I'm doing upscale. Let's make this work together. Versus, somebody coming in and they didn't need that club feel. If you were just trying to throw a regular club promotion party, it wouldn't have worked. But by you niching down and setting up something specifically with that upscale, you got the partnership a lot easier.
That's everything right there. Being able to observe, pull back, be patient, and then add the value to what they need. So if I'm paying attention to their branding, I'm seeing maybe Hennessy is okay with people popping their bottles in the club. Maybe Remy Martin, the way their bottle is shaped and their aesthetic, they're not really looking for club. Maybe when they're looking for more upscale events. Okay, cool, perfect. Let me go curate this upscale event, look, feel, aesthetic, boom, 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 match it to theirs and bring it to them. Now, what are they going to say? They can't turn that down.
So it's already planned out. Hey.
Already planned out.
So, Antwi, I do want to ask, man, how is it like positioning and marketing like a luxury event? Like, because I know you had a large network, a strong network of people, but like with these luxury events, how do you market something like that? Because I know you said it's like invite only, these types of things. Is it just leaning on a network type thing, or is it like there are different ways to target like people that would be in your audience, like a cold audience?
The best way to start when you're marketing a luxury event or exclusivity, if you're preaching exclusivity or you're promoting that, is to start with the people that you know and maybe have them have an invite one. Start with people that you trust and know, and let them know what you're doing and have them bring one guest. When they bring that one guest, start small. Don't start with a group of 50. Start with a group of 15. Have them invite one guest. That's 30 people. Maybe 4 people don't show up. You have 26 people there. That extra person they brought, you build a relationship with them as well. Now, if that person is a single person, next time you have an event, they have an invite one as well. The same person you brought is invite one as well. Now you got 4 quality people versus having 1 or 2. And you build that way, like slowly but surely.
Hey, that's really dope. That's dope as hell. And I like how you said, don't go for big at first, because it's an exclusive event and you kind of want to make it kind of closed off and not able for, everybody just come here.
Right. That's the biggest thing. People want to feel that niche feel like, oh, no one else knows about this. They love to feel that vibe. So
like with these types of events, do you start off as like free events, or like are you charging for these events? And like, if so, if you're charging, like how do you price a luxury event?
For the most part, the charging wise is not kind of my thing. I try to have the brand I'm working with pay for like the participants who are coming or the crowd. Because people don't want to come to luxury events that have to pay for it. They want to come for free. But after you've developed a reputation, or you've developed a brand of doing these luxury events, and now you want to maybe expand or scale up a little bit more, now it's okay if a price is associated with it because you have a track record of doing these things. So I would say, depending on the event, I would say sometimes it's $20 to $30 for a ticket, for admission, etc. But it's still a limited amount. It's still not just for everybody. Like there may be 25 tickets available and they're going up at midnight and they'll be gone by 7 a.m. That's their 7-hour window. If you're serious about it, get it. If not, we don't want to hear about it.
It's scarcity. That's definitely
so
good.
smart. Like I really love the whole way you structured that, because in the beginning you're like, okay, cool, I don't have the name yet. Let me partner with a brand, come up with a plan that's gonna fit them specifically. And then after that, once they partner with us, we build up the brand, we get a name around us, and then people will be willing to pay for it.
100%.
And what was like your biggest event while doing that?
I would say I've done a major event in Houston called Afro Culture Weekend, where I partnered with Remy Martin, and I did that at the Four Seasons Hotel for the entire weekend. And it literally, Four Seasons turned into like Nigeria and Ghana for an entire weekend, and I know they're not used to that. So it was great to see like the look on their faces when everyone came in their cultural garments, and it was a beautiful thing. Like it was very welcoming. So I think that was like the biggest event.
That's dope.
Hey, that's really, really dope, man.
So I do want to ask, Antwi, like with COVID, you mentioned the Four Seasons, and it made me think about COVID again. Like with COVID, obviously, you know, the event space like that, everybody had to make a pivot that was doing events. Like, so how did you pivot once COVID hit and you could like have in-person events like that anymore? That's
a great question. I've been doing events, luxury events, since 2017 all the way to 2020. So when COVID hit, that's when it's time to adapt and adjust and take those transferable skills from basketball, then from the luxury branding event space to my next venture, which was becoming a general manager. That's when that stuff hit. Like, you know what, I got to attack something different. And the events are not going to work right now because we can't really do events. It's like you're putting people in danger. So instead of that, I went to be an assistant GM and a GM, and I'm going to move towards more webinars starting in 2021. Do like events that are online, like to give back information and knowledge. Mm-hmm. Very similar to what we're doing now. Like I'm sure some people pull some information from this, and it's going to help a young brother or a young sister or anybody who wants to get into that space that they can't learn in school. School's going to teach you A, B, and C. I'm teaching you how to get to point A to point C with leaving space of room to adapt, all in between.
Adaptation is key.
And I kind of want to ask for anyone who's thinking about like throwing an event or anything like that, what's a checklist they should have checked off in order to have a successful event? Because I've been over throwing events in college. I'm in a frat, and I know the stress of that, and I know how things could be overlooked. So what would be like a checklist to have a successful event?
Depending on the type of event you're throwing, the biggest checklist for me, I'll start off with security. The first thing I start off with security because I want to make sure everyone who comes to the event is secure. I want to make sure every single person that walks into that spot knows they're going to get there and get home safely. Especially when they get there, they're going to be safe. How they get home is usually under their control. I can't control that. But while you're at our event, you'll be secure. Probably the second thing on my checklist is the aesthetic and environment. How do I want the environment to look? How I want the aesthetic to look? What is our dress code? Do we have a dress code? Why is there a dress code? So when I have a dress code, I want to tell people, well, today we're doing black tie event because we want to show love to this. We want to do, we're doing an all black party because of this. So now there's a reason behind it. So when they come, it's not like, oh, why you have me put on a suit when I usually wear sweats? So a third thing is I want to make sure, and I don't want to make this sound, I want to make sure the ladies have a great time. Everything I do, I curate towards our queens, because I feel like in everything in life, women are gods on the earth. They come from, like, that's where they call them in, like, they call them earth in different places. And they're kind of like the curators of our mindset. Regardless of how people want to look at it, we're visual and we're thinkers in terms of how we can provide better for a woman. So if the women are happy, the men are going to be happy. Happy wife, happy. Exactly.
Happy life.
So, right. So that's another big thing I do, because the women make sure the party's having a good time. And the fourth thing I do, the biggest thing is, I think, promotion. Who are you promoting to? If you want to have your party to be, or your event to be the best event towards one demographic, you better promote as much as you can to that demographic and some. Don't expect them to come because of you are. That doesn't work. Promotion is very, very key, and marketing is very, very important.
Hey, and that last one, that's like you said, that's very, very important because we've definitely like had some flops and parties where we didn't promote as much, and you could tell, like
What you put in is what you get
you
out.
can immediately tell the difference. It's just, yeah, oh, just because we this, they're gonna pull up. Nah, you got to make sure that you put it in their face and that
Remind
they
them
see
a
it.
couple
Yeah,
times.
every time, every
The
time
day of
they see you,
the
they
day
think
of the
about it.
event. Send that text out the day before, the day of, a couple hours before. Let people know. That's all it got to be. You got to be on it like that.
So like when you're getting people to sign up for these events, like when they RSVPing and stuff, they're like you sending out just a form or like, because I know you're saying it's invite only. Like how you collecting this data on people?
So that's a great question as well. A skill that I use is usually when I do events, I'm sharing events, there's different apps you can use. So when someone puts in their actual information, you actually give them back like a code or a bar, but within that you give them like a message that tells them thanks for you've been chosen for this event because we view you as this and such, and we're thankful to have you. And once they read that, people be like, yeah, I'm thankful to come. Like that energy and that generosity that we give out, you always reciprocate it. That's my biggest key that I use. There's other tips I use, but I can't get that out right now.
Hey man, understandable, my brother. We can't give out all the game.
Yeah, give it all. Yeah.
So we can pivot into the last segment of the show. So
Okay, let's do it.
We'll go into what's on your timeline. So Antwi, I want to ask you, my brother, what's something that you've seen on social media that you like thought was impactful, important, funny, whatever, man? Something you just want to talk about, my brother?
I would stay in the sports spectrum, and I would have to say being from Toronto and seeing Serge Ibaka go to the Clippers to reunite with Kawhi Leonard. I think that was very, very important in basketball culture, especially in Toronto. That shows that you can pivot and make your own decision based on what your brand is going to be later on. I think Serge made an amazing branding move by going to LA because he wants to get into movies. He wants to be in front of the camera more. It wasn't just about basketball. Toronto actually offered him more money, and he chose to go play with another title contender with Kawhi, but it's more of a branding move because he wants to be in LA where the cameras are and the bright lights. So that was really interesting.
Hey, and that's smart though, because like you said, sometimes it's not about the right now, getting the big paycheck. Sometimes it's about where do I want to go in the future? And that's definitely important just to think about anytime you're making any decision, really big decision.
100%. And I love the way he did that because he thanked the fans in Toronto and he still moved on to the Clippers because he knows like, yeah, I got a ring already with you guys. There's not more I can do except get another ring. I want to expand my brand. So when basketball is done, life after basketball, my brand is bigger than me.
You could do stuff like Iman Shumpert and guys like that, like Fox and all these people who they still around, they still present afterward in the media.
Still present, still relevant. There's players that were better than all of those guys that you don't even talk about no more.
Nope, not at all. And that's kind of crazy because, you know, prior to LeBron doing what he did, going to Miami, a lot of people would have still been chastising players for making these type of choices and stuff. So it's really dope that the players kind of get a little bit more control and can dictate where they want to go and really how they want their future to look.
100%, and I love that, and I respect that so much.
Well, my brother Antwi, can you just let the people know where can they keep up with you? Where can they follow you, find you? If they want to tap into a Noir Noir event 2021, how can they do that? And anything else that you have to offer, my brother, just let the people know.
All right, appreciate it. Well, to find me on Instagram, it's Noir Et Noire, NOIRET NOIRE. On Twitter, it's The Real Tweet 23, TWEE 23, and on Facebook, Antwi Atuahene. We're gonna have webinars coming out January, February 2021 with the sports and entertainment industry with another A&R. My guy T Nice, he's an A&R and he's gonna start his own label very soon. He's gonna be like the QC of Toronto. We're gonna have a lot of different things. I'm building life after basketball. I'm doing a lot of different things on the fashion side now in terms of like I want to make the younger generation make it look cool to dress up and put something on. Like I want to make that cool. I want to make that a thing again, where it looks good to be classy and you can still throw on your sneakers with a 3-piece suit if you wanted to. Like be creative and things like that. So I have a lot of stuff coming out fashion wise, and I don't know where the next year is going to take me because I try to evolve every year. But that's where you can find me. And another thing, I definitely appreciate what you brothers are doing. Definitely don't think it doesn't go unnoticed. And I seen you guys online, and I reached out to you guys because I'm like, man, what you guys are doing is powerful. The narrative you guys are creating right now is going to change a lot of people's lives. If I was a younger man growing up and seeing what you guys are doing, it would have changed my life then. So it's changing my life now. So I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. So hats off to you guys.
Hey,
Hey, man, we appreciate that. Yeah,
hearts,
man,
brother.
for
Like,
real.
No doubt.
It's inspiration to keep us moving and pushing. Like, yeah, bro, I genuinely appreciate it.
No doubt, man. You guys keep doing your thing. Anything you guys ever need from me, let me know. And when you guys get a chance, send me y'all sizes. I'm gonna send you some merchandise.
For sure,
Hey,
for sure.
most
We
definitely, my
appreciate
brother.
that, most
Yeah, we
definitely.
appreciate that for real, man.
Sure.
And
Well,
before we wrap up,
this
man.
thing up, we're gonna hop into a couple of house cleaning items. So, as always, everybody, thank y'all for listening to the podcast. If you been a fan, new fan, just listening, y'all leave a rating and review. Let us know how you feeling about the pod.
Yeah.
We love to hear y'all feedback, guys. Also, y'all make sure y'all tap in with all the different things that we got offering up right now. We got the merch. The merch is on sale. Tilted the wrong way. The Breaking Generational Curses, Building Generational Wealth tee, that's available.
The Renaissance Man
tee. We
Let's
got
go.
our merch. We got our ebook, our book, Managing Money Like the 1%. Anybody looking to get in started with their financial literacy journey. I know we talked about that some on this episode. And we also have 8 Weeks of Wealth. We selling that for the low right now. 8 Weeks of Wealth is 8 different courses based around your personal finances, generating income, and just building yourself as an individual. And that's on sale for $47 right now. So if you are an individual interested in that, y'all definitely tap in. All these things gonna be down in the show notes. Jared, Jalen, y'all got anything, my brothers?
Hey, man, you covered it very well, man.
All right, y'all. On that note, this Black Wolf Renaissance signing out.
Peace.
I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.